Today on Ian vs. Daddybones, we are talking about a true OG legendary Masters of the Universe favorite, Roboto.
Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today!
Yay! Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. It is episode 27. I am Ian Daddybones. I want to welcome everybody to the show, say what's up to all the YouTube subscribers, give a special high five and a nut tap to all the Patreon subscribers. They throw me $1 once a month for 30 days of bonus content, and they get their name in the credits. And they are getting a special hookup today because today's episode of the show I've been looking forward to doing for honestly over the past month. I've been eagerly anticipating this episode, but I had to wait for a few pieces to fall into place, because when I got the idea that I wanted to do a Roboto episode, I already had the Origins Roboto, and I recently acquired the Masterverse Roboto, but I also had the mini comics variant of Roboto pre-ordered for like the past 2 months. So I had to wait for the pre-orders to arrive so I could, officially start talking about Masters of the Universe Origins, Snake Men, Waves 11 and 12. So Mini Comics Roboto, he's part of Wave 12. He was pre-ordered. I had to wait for him to show up and arrive. And once everything was put into place, it was now the perfect opportunity for me to do this episode. And I do gotta say that for starters, when it comes to me as a Masters of the Universe fan, as a kid, like, Roboto was an instant favorite. Like, when I saw the commercial as a child when Roboto first got introduced, he was automatically got placed on whatever list he was closest to in my life. Like, whether it was my Christmas present wish list or if it was a birthday present wish list, you know what I mean? Roboto was like, I want that for insert whatever gift-giving holiday you're currently most looking forward to as a kid. If it's the holiday season, you're going to ask for him for Christmas, but if it's near your birthday and you have a better shot at getting him for your birthday before you get him for Christmas. I mean, I don't know, at least my birthday's in June. So it's like I got Christmas in December, and then 6 months later I got my birthday. So it's like, every 6 months for Ian Daddybones, it's a gift-giving holiday. So I definitely remember being super geeked and excited when Roboto came out when I was a kid. Like I said, I remember watching the commercials, and he was one of those. To me, he was one of those first new characters that got added to the line as the line started growing. Because, you have Masters of the Universe when it came out in 1982. So you really have that 1982 to 1983 to 1984, which, for the purpose of writing years down on paper, you're seeing 3 years, but it's really the gap between the years. See, as I'm fingering the gaps, it's really it's the space between the gaps that you're actually counting the time for. So it's like it's really the first 2 years of the fucking toy line, and Roboto was one of those new characters that got introduced. And right off the bat, there was so many things to love about this character as a kid that you really couldn't pick anything not to like about the character. Like, he was just instantly amazing and awesome the minute you took him out of the package. I mean, what's not to like about a fucking robot action figure that has interchangeable weapon attachments on his one arm? He's got these translucent gears that turn and crank on the inside. He's got this robotic knight's helmet, so his face guard goes up and down, which on one hand kind of looks like a mouth, especially if it's down. It kind of looks like he's smiling a little bit. And like I said, he's a fucking robot. I mean, what's not to like about this character? Now, I remember like when Roboto came out, like it seemed like everybody who was a He-Man fan, they all wound up getting Roboto. Now, for me as a kid, I can say that Roboto was an automatic favorite to me as a child for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons that he was most like on that list of being one of my favorites was because he was a substitute for a figure that I never had as a kid. Like, Trapjaw is my all-time favorite Masters of the Universe character. And I always wanted Trapjaw because of the interchangeable hands and the fact that he had, you know, the jaw that was articulated and his jaw moved, and, you know, what wasn't there to like about Trapjaw? Like the green face, the blue body, the way the magenta clashed against the green and the black and the blue. It was a fucking brilliantly colored, beautiful figure, and there was so much to love about Trapjaw. And it's like when Roboto came out, if you were one of those kids that didn't get some of the early Masters of the Universe figures, because I understand kids in the 80s, you know, with every year you had kids of different ages. So like when kids got introduced to Masters of the Universe, some kids got introduced to He-Man at different points of their life. You know what I mean? Some kids got introduced to it in 82, and because of the noise it was making in 82, kids in 83 that caught wind of it were like, oh, I need to check out Masters of the Universe. You know what I mean? And that's basically how we all fell in love with Masters of the Universe and grew up with it. So there's like, you know, with me as an adult, as a collector, you know, so many collectors and toy hunters are like sharing stories with each other of like childhood memories and shit, and it's like we could all relate to one another and what it was like with our own toys as a kid, except like, you know, I was 5 years old where this kid was 3, or this guy was 7 at the time when I was 5. You know what I mean? So then you have the 3-year-old and the 7-year-old and the 4-year difference between those two guys. But at the end of the day, growing up with this shit, you know what I mean? It's all flooded and full of childhood nostalgic memories. And it's like we all love the same thing, but it's like how we approach that, and like, you know what I mean? It's so much room and fun for discussion with this type of shit. But like I said, like some kids missed out on getting Beast Man and Trapjaw and Triclops. Some kids didn't get Stratos, and some kids missed out on Man-at-Arms. But they were able to get Roboto and Cobra Khan and Too Bad, you know what I mean? And members of the Evil Horde and other Snake Men, you know what I mean? It was easy that as the line got older to get access to new characters, but at the same time, with the way Mattel was putting shit in stores, I mean, even if you jump on Google and like search Masters of the Universe 80s toy stores, you're gonna see some classic photos of what the vintage line actually looked like when it was in Toys R Us, when it was in Bradley's or Kmart, you know what I mean, or KB Toys and shit. It was stacked, like, and you see it today with like Star Wars figures, wrestling figures, Marvel figures, you know, especially Funko Pops. You know what I mean? That shelf space and whatnot. Masters of the Universe had all that shit back in the day. And they're like they were dominating it. And, you know, that's the thing, you know, to keep the line going, to keep the line fresh, you know. They needed new characters that were going to grab kids' attention and shit. And Roboto was one of those new characters. And it's like, you know, he just looks fucking cool from the start. Like I said, he's got the translucent torso so you can see inside and see his robot parts. He's got the interchangeable weapons and whatnot, but it's like if you break the character down, you know, he's got an original head, he's got an original torso, he has original robot arms, because you can see the tech and the gears and the screws and the hoses and whatnot. all detailed in the sculpt. You know, he's got a. I believe he's reusing this the crotch piece, but I know for a fact that the legs, Roboto's legs are reused legs. These are these are trap jaw and Manny face legs. So Roboto's got red and silver legs. He's got the red legs with the silver paint deco over it, and it's kind of funny. And he's got the maroon colored crotch area of his pants, and the '80s figure, you know, had the same paint deco, but as the toys got older, as the toys aged, it's funny because a lot of the silver kind of rubbed off, and it's like the silver kind of became pink on his legs, with the silver basically disappearing and seeing the pink under the red plastic underneath it. But overall, it's just such a brilliant fucking figure, and you know, and that's the thing. Like with the vintage figure, you got to see his gears and shit on the inside, but the thing is, he also had a heart, and you were able to see like Roboto's heart because there was a mini comic. And the whole point of the mini comic was like, you know, it gave a little origin and a backstory to Roboto. His origin was like simple, to the point. He was a robot that was built by Man-at-Arms, and he was able to communicate with the masters and whatnot. He was able to engage with people, and you know, he was able to do shit. He was able to perform tasks. You know, he was a fucking robot. You know, and he was also able. He was designed to protect, and which is kind of weird to me because, well, I'll get to what's weird to me in a moment. But going forward, Roboto had his heart. So it's like, you know, he had his conscience, he had his soul, and so it's like, even though there's, even though he's a robot and he's a machine and not a real person, the fact that we gave him a heart, you know, humanizes him a bit. You know, it's the good in him, and it's basically like Skeletor got a hold of Roboto, and they removed Roboto's heart. And then Roboto was doing the evil bidding of Skeletor and the evil warriors, and basically temporary turning heel, which is the same shit that they did in the Ram Man mini comics, and it's the same shit they did in the Manny Faces mini comics, where like Manny Faces had his monster form and was doing Skeletor's bidding and shit because he was under his control. But like, you know, he had his heart. And the fact that he had the heart in the mini comic, you know, it explained like why the figure had a heart, and it was pretty. It was the novelty of it is like one of the favorite things about the figure, and especially, you know, I think it's kind of funny because it's like it just makes me think of Care Bears and whatnot. Like you got Tenderheart, and it's like the Care Bears stare and shit, and it's like you know, everything. You know, hearts make everything better, and it's like, yeah, let's put a heart in Roboto. So we had the little plastic heart and shit, and, you know, the fucking gears that made him turn around. And I don't have the vintage figure in front of me, but I don't know. I want to say that the vintage figure had a green gear in the back that seems to be missing on this figure, in addition to the heart that is no longer here. The heart is not here, but that's why they decided to. That's why they decided to do a mini comics variant of Roboto, which I'm gonna be opening up in a moment, and I'll actually use that as an opportunity to move this guy to the side so I can talk about the mini comics Roboto. Get a good look at that packaging as you can. Hopefully the light's not blinding it. Tilt it to the side. Alright, he's got, now, Mini Comics Roboto He's in a completely different color scheme than vintage Roboto, even though that's the Origins Roboto, based on the vintage. I mean, all these Origins figures are based on the vintage. But the original mini comic that came with Roboto, like most Masters of the Universe figures, vehicles, and play sets, sometimes during the development and the design process, sometimes the artwork will get sent off to different departments. In this case, everything that was known about Roboto that was given to the comic book guys to do the mini comics, when they drew and colored Roboto, they did that based on all the information they were given at the time, even though there may be some final changes before the figure gets released. You know, it's no different than like a pro wrestling poster that has an announced card, but at the bottom of the poster, card's subject to change because things could happen. People can get injured. There could be like travel delays and whatnot, and people could be sick, may not be able to make the show or whatnot. Just like Mattel may, call an audible and change the colors of a character. And in this case, when Roboto was handed off to the artist, his concept art, the artwork that they were given Roboto, I believe what they were given, unless they had free reign to color him what they wanted to, either way, Roboto in the mini comic had orange limbs instead of blue and red arms and legs. He still has the silver boots and the silver paint deco on the knees. That's the same. The magenta, now going back to the two Robotos real quick. He's got the red legs, the blue arms. He's got the right arm with the interchangeable weapon attachments, but his left hand is red. So the red left hand on the mini comics Roboto is now the same magenta color as the crotch plastic on the Origins Roboto, and instead of having the red face mask, I always thought it kind of looked like Gizmo Duck. You know what I mean? Like Gizmo Duck's bill in a sense when I was a kid, because I always was when I was playing with my Masters of the Universe, especially when I was at the age of 8, playing with my Masters of the Universe figures before my parents got divorced and my He-Man figures got stolen as a kid. This is when DuckTales was like OG new for the first time, and yeah, I was like all about that shit. So that's where, because of watching DuckTales every day after school and playing with my He-Man figures, I saw like a little similarities between Gizmo Duck and fucking Roboto. But yeah, he's got the orange legs, orange arms. He's got the silver boots, same silver weapon attachments. I mean, honestly, other than the magenta hand and the yellow crotch, I love this version of Roboto. If it was up to me, he'd have a silver crotch area to match the boots, and honestly, I would probably give him a silver hand instead of the magenta, because the only thing I feel that kills this figure is the magenta and the yellow that really don't fit for any reason. Like even looking on this Roboto, I feel instead of having a magenta crotch plastic area, it could at least be blue, or it could at least be silver. That I feel it would have been better. I feel the silver on Roboto really friggin' pops. So let me go ahead and get this guy opened. Let's see here. What's the back of his card says? Now, the back of his card art is now, all right, real quick, you know what? Let me pause a minute. Pause a little bit. Before I open up Mini Comics Roboto, I got to go back and talk about Origins Roboto. Because Origins Roboto is part of Wave 3 of Masters of the Universe Origins. And in 2021, when I started collecting the line, the Origins line was only 1 year old, and I had He-Man, I had Skeletor, Beastman, Evil Lyn, Teela, Man-at-Arms, Battle-Cat, right? So I had the basic Wave 1 of Origins, and it's like, okay, I have everything there is to get right now. When's the new shit coming out? And this was like literally like, you know, we're already in the pandemic, so it's not like I can go to stores and walk around and like, you know, we were still dealing with a lot of limitations on shit. And so I was looking online for Masters of the Universe Origins Wave 2 figures, and I was trying to get an idea of what characters are currently available, what's next, what's on deck, and I found out that they were almost 3 waves into Masters of the Universe Origins, and with the way Mattel distributes the line, when they drop a new wave, it gets released internationally first, and then it gets released in the United States. I think there's like a 90-day window difference. It could be 2 months. It could be 30 days. I'm not really sure. I think it varies based on real life and what real life throws at us and what we're currently dealing with on a daily basis, scheduling mishaps and whatnot. So come to find out that because of their international shipping arrangement, deal, and setup, not to mention the fact that we're dealing with a global, worldwide pandemic that's affecting everybody, and everything's getting delayed. Basically, waves 2 and 3 of Origins never got properly distributed in the United States. So, like, with wave 3 of Masters of the Universe Origins, I believe wave 3 was She-Ra, Merman, Roboto. I don't want to say, maybe Hordak? I gotta go back and double check. But all I know is or maybe it was Stratos, but or it could have been Triclops even. All I know is fucking Roboto was part of wave 3, and it didn't get distributed properly in the United States. So when I'm trying to look for it online, everywhere has it sold out, or they had him super jacked, like super expensive if you wanted Roboto. So I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on, why he wasn't coming out in the United States. And again, I had no idea that it only got distributed internationally. And but once I found that out, then I had to like, okay, well, how am I going to get these figures? When are they going to eventually get released in the United States? So I made some phone calls. I made some phone calls. I did some Google searches. And basically, what it came down to was I was watching some pro wrestler YouTube channels that go on toy hunts and collect figures. I was watching the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. I was watching Ethan Page's channel on YouTube, and that's basically. I already told this story on the Trap Jaw episode, but for the purpose of telling the story again. I was watching an episode of Ethan Page's podcast, and he and Danhausen went to Hot Comics Toys and Collectibles out in Richmond, Minnesota. Now, watching this episode of Ethan Page's show, you know, I'm just watching like I normally do, and they're walking through the store, and Ethan Page is looking at Batman stuff and whatever, and Danhausen's looking at the stuff that that he's interested in, and I'm just like paying attention to what they have hanging on the racks at the store. And I started noticing like Masters of the Universe Origin stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, look at all the He-Man shit they got. So I decided to do a Google search, and I searched Hot Comics Toys and Collectibles out in Minnesota. I called the store. I made contact with these two guys, Jeff and Mike, that worked there. And I basically was like, hey, my name's Ian, I live in New York, and I found out about you guys on Ethan Page podcast, and I saw your Masters of the Universe stuff, and I collect Origins, so I was basically calling to see if what you guys happen to have, because I have a list of like 8 figures I'm looking for that I can't find anywhere, so I'm hoping you guys maybe have these mint on card. So I gave him the list of who I was looking for, and after hearing my list of figures that I need, I was told that, well, unfortunately, we do not have any of those figures mint on card. However, it seems to be your lucky day, because we just bought somebody's collection, their entire lot, like a week ago. So I don't have the figures you're looking for mint on card, but I do have them in mint to perfect, excellent condition, loose in bag, with all the accessories. So I thought about it, and it took me like less than 5 seconds to really think about it, and I decided to jump on it, because those were the 8 figures I needed to get caught up in current through waves 1 through 7 until waves 8 and 9 released last summer. Son of a bitch. I have good weeks, I have bad weeks. I have weeks where everything goes according to plan, and then I have some weeks where there's a little fucking hiccups. Like today, I just spent 15 minutes talking about how dope this mini comics Roboto is. I opened him, as you can see. Here's his plastic. There, I know some people get off on that, so I wanted to please you. But no, I fucking camera battery's exhausted, and the footage was not playing back right. Don't know what the hell that was about. So I decided to pick up where I left off, and basically I was talking about contacting fucking Hot Comics Toys and Collectibles out in Minnesota when I was trying to get the Origins Wave 3 Roboto. And you know, they really took care of me when it came to getting the Waves 2, 3, and the rest of the Wave 4 figures that I needed at the time. But yeah, here we are a year later collecting this shit, and now we're just finished opening the final character of my Wave 12. And now we get to look forward to waves 13 and 14 of Masters of the Universe Origins that's going to be coming out this late spring and summer. But yeah, so come to find out that that the footage fucked up, and y'all never got to see me actually open up Mini Comics Roboto. It's the same figure. It's the same exact figure. The only difference is the gears are red and blue on the inside of the Origins based on the vintage figure. And the Mini Comics Roboto has silver gray gears on the inside. And Mattel was super cheap and couldn't make plastic hearts to put on the inside of either one of these Roboto figures. But he got a printed heart on the front of him, which, for the purpose of drawing Roboto in his introduction mini comic, like they didn't really draw the effect of the translucent plastic that well, so you didn't really see the heart on the inside to a degree. It kind of looked like it was always coming through. But they just basically, like, it's not even a sticker. It's just press printed on that shit, and just a simple transfer, and it's right there. And yeah, they totally cheaped out and crapped out on it. I don't know why they couldn't. What's so hard about putting a little plastic heart inside the figure that people wanted so bad? But the back of his card art says, Roboto may have strength of steel, but it's his cybernetically enhanced heart that makes him one of Eternia's bravest. And that's the thing, cybernetically enhanced heart, even though it's just a fucking sticker. It's just a decal. But yeah, he's the fourth figure in Wave 12, along with Snake Armor, Skeletor, Hypno, and Tongue Lasher. Good thing I opened the other figures in the wave, because his mini comic was stuck to the glue on the bubble. So it's a good thing I'm not trying to collect that comic. I already have 3 of those. But overall, I mean, it's a dope figure. Like, he's got his orange arms, orange legs. He's got the same silver boots and thigh deco. He's got the same silver weapon attachments. And I mean, they both have like red hands, but his red hand is more magenta, like the crotch plastic on the Origins figure, and his duck bill face mask. Like, I always I don't know if this recorded on the other video I recorded leading into this segment of Ian versus Daddybones, but I made the connection of when I was a kid watching vintage DuckTales when it was new. So like, with my Masters of the Universe figures that got stolen from me when I was a kid, like, one of my favorite memories of Roboto was one of the figures that I left home that day. So with everything that got jacked and stolen when I was 8, Roboto was one of the He-Man characters that I had left, and I always enjoyed Roboto. Roboto even fit in with my Ninja Turtles when I was playing with Ninja Turtles, just because I still had Roboto and my Snake Men and whatnot. But yeah, I saw a lot of similarities between Gizmo Duck and Roboto, with the way his face mask was, kind of looking like a duck bill. And yeah, Roboto, always definitely one of my top 5 favorite Masters of the Universe characters. And like I was saying, I did say, when they came out with the 2000X Mike Young Masters of the Universe Toonami series, all the characters were redesigned with that like anime comic book like feel to their presentation and design. And Roboto's redesign for the 2000X series was like absolutely sick. You know what I mean? He was more of a I'm not saying this doesn't look like intimidating, because this is like, RoboCop version of Roboto, but like the 2000X Roboto was his design was just sick. Like, he was like everything about him was like oversized, and he was just fucking dope. And that's the thing, like, they fleshed out Roboto a little bit. They gave his character some more information with 2000X series, and not that they made a robot character more relatable, but they basically, in the vintage line, he was just a robotic warrior that was created by Man-at-Arms. He was built by Duncan. You know what I mean? It's like if Duncan was Tony Stark, this is his Iron Man suit that he created. Only he made an actual Iron Man instead of just a suit. But in 2000X, he was built by Man-at-Arms, and like everything that was uploaded into Roboto was like based on Man-at-Arms. So when Roboto fights, his fighting style is programmed based on Man-at-Arms' fighting style. So they fleshed that out a little bit more. They made, it wasn't just, oh, I had this bits of junk in my lab and I decided to build a fucking robot. Like 2000X Roboto, there was a lot more thought and there was more explanation as to what Man-at-Arms did during the process of building him. And like I said, it's just such a legendary character, and he's always evolved, stood the test of time when it comes to being an iconic master of the universe. And that's the thing, it all comes down to his heart and his mini comic, because he basically had the heart placed inside him, kind of like Jiminy Cricket being with Pinocchio. Roboto needs a conscience. So if Skeletor is able to take the heart and steal his conscience, then all bets are off. And guess what, asshole? You work for Skeletor now. And so they basically tried doing the same shit with Roboto that they did with fucking Manny Faces and Ram Man's mini comics in the vintage line, and so there's some parallel similarities and whatnot with that. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It was Roboto's strength and bravery, that he was worthy of that heart, and because of his bravery, he's worthy of, earning his spot amongst the Masters of the Universe. Because one of the things I always wished they did when I was a kid was, you had the Eternian Palace Guard, you had the Royal Army, and then you had like the Evil Horde, and you had like the Horde Trooper. And usually some people just have a Horde Trooper. Some people go out there and buy all the Horde Troopers, so nobody can buy Horde Troopers, because you can't find Horde Troopers because some asshole decided, well, I need 10 Horde Troopers for my collection. So I always thought, like, why wasn't Roboto like an army build figure? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you had like 4 Robotos, you know what I mean? That's like a nice little, all right, go get them, Robotos, and you'd have a fucking attack squad of fucking Robotos and shit. But yeah, he definite OG legend, favorite character amongst Masters of the Universe fans. I've always loved them. And I may have said this already on the show, because I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty pissed off that I spent 15 minutes talking about something I really love, only to find out that footage got completely fucking damaged and whatnot, somehow, between the batteries dying and whatnot. The camera shut off, it didn't stop recording properly, it just fucked up and glitched. And so now I'm trying to like backtrack and save the show. But yeah, you got, I don't have the 2000, and I never got the 2000X Roboto. Honestly, it's not that I was never looking for him, it's just the 2000X toy line fucking sucked, because Mattel just was focused on different He-Man and Skeletor variants, and that's all you ever saw in stores, because none of the secondary characters ever got released in great numbers to where everyone had a chance of finding a Teela if you wanted a Teela. But we got plenty of wolf armor and stilt walking He-Man. You know what I mean? Bunch of bullshit. So I know Roboto, I believe he did get a figure in the 2000X line, and like everything about Roboto, he looks absolutely sick. Like they're you got a whole breakdown of the 2000X toy line and the Masters of the Universe figure book that breaks down the different lines and the brands, and it's just for all the time and the energy, just going into the figure. And not to mention the fact, too, that, you had the Masters of the Universe Classics Roboto. And, that's why I'm all about Masterverse, because like I said before, I never got to participate in Classics. I completely missed out on Masters of the Universe Classics, and, I was always aware of Classics' existence. You know what I mean? And it was always one of those things I was always like envious and jealous of from a distance, even though even though it wasn't on my radar, but it probably should have been, because I love Masters of the Universe. It's just one of those type of things where, okay, I gotta act like this doesn't exist because I can't participate in this. So if I act like it doesn't exist, it's not gonna hurt so much when it's all said and done, and I really can't go back. I mean, granted, I can go back. I can start collecting the classics if I wanted to, but they're so fucking expensive and outrageous today. I'd rather just stick to the Masterverse because I'm having so much fun with that. And like I said, you know, I'm gonna be opening up the Masterverse version of Roboto for the Patreon subscribers. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here in a moment and do that for the Patreon subscribers. But yeah, like I said, I've been saying it a lot. He's just a sick figure. You know, I like the redesign of well, not really redesign. It's the same figure. It's just a color variant. But I really like the orange and the silver together. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a creamsicle Roboto and whatnot. The only thing I really don't care for on the mini comics Roboto, besides the cheap ass heart that they put on him, I'm not really a big fan of the magenta hand or the yellow crotch plastic. I kind of wish, instead of having those be two different colors, I wish they would have kept it uniform and had those two pieces of plastic also be silver. Because honestly, I feel it would have been the perfect army build figure if he had the silver crotch plastic and the silver hand. Because honestly, even if he had if it was like a translucent green plastic, he'd totally be like on par with the Eternian Palace guards. Or even if his arms and legs were green like Man-at-Arms, and you had the translucent orange plastic like Man-at-Arms' armor, that would have been pretty fucking sick. But you know, you know, and I'm sure somebody may customize him like that, because people like doing customization jobs and fucking around and playing around with their Masters of the Universe figures. I see so many people customizing figures on the internet, and some people really suck at it, but some people are so freaking good at what they do with their customizations, and even people that 3D print freaking alternate heads and shit. So if you don't like your Dolph Lundgren He-Man head, you can contact somebody on the internet that will 3D print you a better looking Dolph Lundgren He-Man head. But again, thank you all very much for taking the time to watch the show today. Thank you for very much in general for watching Ian versus Daddybones, period. We all put in a lot of time and effort bringing the show every week, between my son, myself, and my daughter Natalia that wants to help out now. You know, I really stress the hell out of my wife sometimes with all the time I put into this show. So if you could do me a favor, just share this shit. If you're watching right now on YouTube, hit the share button, share the YouTube channel. If you're seeing this on Facebook, hit the share button, share that link. You know what I mean? And if you seriously can afford it, throw me the fucking $1 on the Patreon. It ain't gonna break your wallet. You know what I mean? All it takes is $1 and a dream, right? So give me that $1 that you're probably gonna lose on a scratch-off ticket, and you could just subscribe to the Patreon for 30 days. You'll win for 30 days. You'll get your name in the credits as a bonus and a high five. Plus, you get access to all the bonus content up on the Patreon. Because right now, you're watching the shit on the internet and on YouTube, but over on the Patreon, there's a whole other list of fucking shows that the average viewer doesn't even get. But the Patreon subscribers, they're fucking loving this shit. So just smash that button, subscribe for 30 days, whip it out and show it to me. I really want to see it. And I'm talking about your debit card, you pervert. 30 days, $1. I'll see you next week. Cheers, Pete!